Hey retro babes, I'm really excited to do this video today, y'all. I am GOOGii, your favorite Afrofuturistic retro babe, and today we're gonna talk about one of my favorite movies. I know I say this all the time, but y'all, I'm a movie buff. I don't know what to tell y'all. So today we're gonna talk about Uptown Girls and how it represents the inner child. I did see another beautiful creator do a whole breakdown of the movie. I'm not going to get into too much detail. As you guys know, I just like to follow the person's personal story and what I give from it and how it relates to me. So if you want to look at that creator's video, it's so good. I love that her intro was talking about how is Uptown Girls not regarded one of the best movies of all time cinematic wise. That is a cinematic masterpiece. If you're a true movie buff, if you like cinematography, you would love how much symbolism, filmography, and direction in Uptown Girls. Is such a good movie. I feel like there's so many good female-led movies that aren't surrounded by a man that don't do so well in like box offices, but the storyline is amazing. My wig, she's real shiny. She's giving real Party City today. She's just oily and I have not brushed it. Make sure you guys check out my other videos in this series. I actually filmed this video in January and I accidentally deleted all of the footage, so I have to film it over again, and that was when I freshly watched it. And for me, once I fully immerse and experience in a movie, I have to wait like a good 6 months before I can watch it again, maybe a good couple of years. I feel like my excitement level might not be the same, but I'm excited to see you guys, so I just hope that translates. What I love most about this movie and where it starts off is I talk a lot about manifestation and being delusional, and in the beginning of this movie, Molly already has it all, or so she thinks. She's rich, she's living life her dream. She is definitely your textbook Delulu girl. Even the person who seems like they have the life of their dreams can still want more.
Lady, that water's contaminated, you know.
And I think we forget that when we see somebody who quote unquote has it all, because we don't know people's personal goals.
I want this.
Or what their subconscious, as we will get later into the video, is telling them to go after. Think of the book Year of Yes. It's a book by Shonda Rhimes talking about her year of like fully leaping into things. What I love about that book is it starts with her already being a famous TV showrunner. Like she already, I think, had Scandal at the time, and Scandal, even though I never watched it, was a big deal. I remember people talking about it every day when I was in school. If you've seen the movie A Family That Prays, it was one of those things like, are you living or are you just existing? She realized she was just existing because she was too scared to say yes to opportunities in her life. And I feel like with Molly, it's kind of the opposite. I feel like she takes things head on to avoid what's really going on and stop herself from feeling. In this movie, there are two different energies. One is Molly and one is Ray. Molly, even though she is the adult, has this childlike innocence to her and like this youthful way of going about life. Whereas Ray is very strict and she feels and acts like she's a 28-year-old woman.
Fundamentals are the building blocks of fun.
And she's only 8. When I first watched the movie, I didn't even know she was 8. I thought she was older than that because that's how old she like perceived herself in the movie. I thought she was at least 10 years old. I think what's important to know about this story is sometimes people come into your life to mirror you so you can see what you need to grow and change with, or show you what your life is really looking like so you can address the parts you need to address and move on for the parts you need to move on with. And I resonate with that heavily because I definitely had, I guess they call it a karmic friendship. I don't really like that word, but it's true. It is a karmic friendship. So like I was saying, Molly gives delusional girl vibes. She's definitely Delulu. She's giving like Holly Golightly, free spirit, nothing up here, just going with the world energy, London Tipton energy, which I absolutely love because y'all know I love bimbos, love being a Delulu girl. That's just my whole thing. And y'all, she lives in the Ansonia. Okay, I'm gonna live in the Ansonia one day. Her apartment is goals. It's such goals. Like I want to live there one day. Remember how I said in my Catwoman video how I wanted to live in Catwoman's apartment? I think I just want to live in a good New York apartment, but I'm definitely afraid of mice, so I don't know if that will work out. Molly definitely lets her inner child roam free. She avoids responsibility because she's never really had to have responsibility. Her parents were famous. Her dad was a famous, I think he was either in a band or a famous guitarist. but because of that, been living off of their estate since I think they died when she was a teenager. Obviously, mentally, she has not been able or given the space to grow up, and I honestly think she's scared to, because then she will have to actually accept that she does not have her parents anymore, and she does not have like that nurturing and love that comes from them. In the beginning of the movie, you can definitely tell that she just expects life to go her way. She goes in her house and she sees all the gifts outside her door from all the men who want to date her, and she just gives it away. She gives her flowers away because she's just a woman of abundance, a woman who just attracts so much to her, and I love that energy. But she also has that kid side to her. And I just love that she's that crafty bitch, because I'm definitely the inner child, expressive, crafty bitch myself. So with Ray, she's more stubborn, she has more fear, she's more like craving stability.
Hey, you want to pick up bacterial meningitis or polio? You go ahead and be my guest.
Because her dad is sick and her mom, she works herself to the bone, so she's never home. So Ray's usually on her own most times, so she had to parent herself. And she's also scared of germs because her dad is sick, and that's how it manifests for her, is like a deep-seated fear. She's having worries of like a 30-year-old, and she's only 8. When Molly and Ray meet, I loved it. It was like one of the most iconic scenes, because they immediately click, and when I say they click, they immediately fought and pointed out each other's like insecurities and each other's faults in themselves.
You're still a little underage to be going out clubbing, aren't you?
You're a little overage to be wearing a lampshade in your hair. Bright idea.
That's what happens when you have a quote-unquote karmic friendship and you start to mirror each other. I'm a firm believer when something sparks your subconscious, the universe will follow 100%. I've had this happen to me before. Shortly after they met, Molly lost all of her money. It turns out the person who was handling her money embezzled it, so now she's broke. And this situation is what catapulted her into growing up. And I strongly believe when she met Ray, she saw something inside of her that let her know like, hey, it's time to grow up. It's time to kind of get my shit together, basically. And shortly after that, she lost her money and was forced to have to figure out life. And I resonate with that because I was in a situation where I had no money. I was forced to figure out life and get my shit together. And I know that can kind of sound harsh because I used to take that as harsh as well. Like, so you mean I didn't have my stuff together? And it's not necessarily you didn't. It's the fact that you see in somebody else the change you want to be. And it's honestly an act of self-care and an act of self-worth to want to change yourself for the better. So if you're going through a similar situation where you have to start all over, that is the best act of self-love you could ever do, and I am so incredibly proud of you. I feel for you because sometimes that can be a difficult journey. So I know this gets like overplayed on TikTok a lot, but Molly does have an avoidant attachment style. That is one of her insecurities from growing up, not feeling the love she needed from her parents because they just weren't there. So she falls in love quickly, she love bombs men and then breaks it off when they get too close quickly. She kind of holds them hostage.
I've got to go rejoin the human race. I feel like I'm suffocating. I need some air.
We can open the window.
To be with her in her apartment so she has someone to quote unquote play with and have fun with, because she is kind of lonely. And she doesn't really ever listen to them or their interests. She honestly doesn't really care. She just more wants the companionship.
When I'm not ready, you hunt me down. When I try and make it work, you're not interested.
And though those can sound like bad characteristics in somebody and like demeaning factors in somebody, it's real. It's a form of trauma that caused this. And it's something that she does have to address during this movie. And I think even her friend pointed it out to her, like, you don't really want that man, because you break up with him like 2 weeks later. And that's so felt, because I used to be the same. And when I say the same, I used to be the same exact way. The thing about being like a Delulu girl and having this like abundance, carefree energy is that you are very charming, and charm will get you through the door, but it might not keep you in that door. You know what I mean? It makes me think of like Serena Vanderwoods and how she just effortlessly flowed through life off her charm. And then when she decided to work instead of go to college, it was hard for her to keep a job because she would get in the job. But when she got there, she realized it was more effort and work than she's used to. I do feel like her best friends enable her, but like, I don't think it's necessarily them being bad people. I feel like that's the only way they know how to be a friend to her. When you're that traumatized, it's hard to hear what you need to hear. You know what I mean? because you already feel alone. You feel like the world's against you and you feel like it's just you and you're trying to cope with pain. So she has one friend on one end who is just as carefree as her, but he has no responsibilities and he has no interest in having responsibilities. And you have the other friend who's like the mom of the group. She's very parental and she has a lot of responsibilities and she has her whole life together. And she tries to help Molly, but Molly literally just does not listen.
We're downsizing, remember? Sloughing off the excess to find our center.
Both of them have tried to get her jobs. One is a nanny for Ray. One had tried to get her job at a clothing store, which she ended up bringing her boyfriend to and having sex on the sheets and waking up in the morning in the store, and that caused him to create his #1 hit, Egyptian Cotton. And it seems like, why would she do that? But she's never really been told no or that she can't do something, so she doesn't know, like, this is not allowed. She's just like, oops, well, oh well, I'll figure out something else. This is why I think Molly and Ray's relationship was so important, because they both told each other what nobody else would. They both could see something in each other that nobody else saw, and they both knew ways to address it where the other person would hear and listen. Literally, when Ray went to Molly's house and saw that she was broke, but then saw that she was holding on to all of her dad's stuff, she's like, well, why don't you just sell all this stuff? You gotta sell it. Like, you're broke, you need to sell something to move on.
God, you're pathetic.
And even at the garage sale, she was resisting it. And it's hard to let go of things that have such sentimental value when you feel like you lost everything. You know what I mean? And I know that to be true because when I first moved to Chicago, I had 2 suitcases, but literally one suitcase was just filled with all my records and all of my fashion. And I was so upset that I couldn't bring everything with me. And then when I got all of my stuff, like 2 years later, I didn't even fit the fashion anymore, and I didn't even like the fashion anymore. And I'm just thinking about how light my load would have been if I had just took the essentials and left. Because the point wasn't for me to bring my life with me to another place. The point was for me to get out. That was the only point. I also think that Ray was good for Molly because she taught her to stand up for herself. Ray is a very assertive person.
It's a harsh world.
Remember, like, she was raised by her mom, who is very like boss babe businesswoman, and Ray literally was the head of the house because her mom was gone all the time. So she's the one who had to like oversee the house, make sure everything was clean, make sure, I hate the word the help, but making sure like maids and whoever else were doing their job.
You leave when I say you can leave.
I feel like sometimes friendship breaks are needed. I am pro friendship breaks. I am. Because the way that Molly's friend was talking about her and talking down to her was ridiculous. Ray was like, you need to stand up to her, because why are you letting this lady talk to you like this? Like, if that's your friend, why are you letting your friend talk to you like this? And I get that her friend was frustrated with her life choices because they started to affect everyone in the house because they were living together. But I still think that the way she went about it was rude. And when Molly did stick up for herself, she got kicked out. She definitely got kicked out. So she ended up staying with her friend Huey, who got her the job to work with Ray in the first place. And Huey, like I said, he's a more partying, fun-loving friend. So it was easier for her to live there and be around that space because that's what she was used to. I feel like with friendship breaks, especially in my own experience, after you take some time and evaluate it, you see the real ones from the ones who didn't really have your best interest or weren't the kindest, and the real ones will always come back. The real ones will always come back. I remember that quote from Sex and the City, the reboot, and Carrie was like, no, I don't like space because space leads to more space. Yes, that is true. Space can lead to more space, but sometimes space is needed. I have 2 close friends that I had to have space from that I came back to. And when we came back, we are better and stronger than ever. And honestly, I love them more, and our relationship is amazing because we needed that space apart to grow, figure out what we want, and also it helps you not take out your life on each other, because I know how that can be, and I definitely was one of those people. One of the signals I have spoken about on my channel to know when your life is really about to change is when you're fed up. Sometimes it takes being smacked in the face with something you don't like, where you're like, I don't want this to be my story anymore. And it took Molly to fully accept that she was in the state that she was in order for her to get her life together.
I am scared, but you're scared too.
I think being with Ray helped that, because As she started to be like a big sister for Ray, she could see where she needed to heal in herself too. Ray, at the end of the day, is a child, okay? And like Molly could see how Ray got this way and wanted to help her heal. And in helping her heal, she healed herself. And she saw ways that she could grow up and be there for someone. She learned how to be a better and supportive friend. Oh my God, you guys, I hope you're loving this video so far. I feel like I'm talking fast. I don't know if the point is coming across. I hope it all goes together. I'm so sad that the original footage is lost, but I'm so glad for you guys for sticking with me. Okay, so remember in the beginning when I said that Molly love bombs, she doesn't know really how to be in a relationship, act like she's interested, but she's really not. So there was this guy named Neil. I don't really want to address Neil, but I kind of have to. So her and Neil had that situation where they were together and he wrote that song Egyptian Cotton. Basically, when they broke up, said some very, very rude words to her. Like he wasn't part of the problem too, because he definitely was part of the problem too.
We have to talk.
Oh, okay. Those are the four most hateful words in the entire English
I can't
language.
see you anymore.
She just wanted his like love and acceptance as her for her, because she felt like she was giving that to him. Probably not as much as he needed though, but she felt like she was giving that to him. And there was a point where she was like, why is it always me being the problem and never you? Why do you never address where you go wrong? Fast forward, Neil started to date Ray's mom and Molly found Neil in Ray's apartment. Like, how would you feel if you saw your ex messing with your boss mom? Like, that would feel so crazy. And not only that, you see him like in the morning making breakfast after spending the night with your boss's mom. She was just telling him like, why are you doing this? Ray's mom, she's like a head of A&R, so she can really get like singers into high places, and Neil was a singer. So Molly was basically just trying to tell him, hey, you're better than this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to screw your way to the top. Which is so funny because they always try to make it seem like women screw their way to the top, but men do too. They just try to demean women for doing that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? But she was basically telling him like, you're better than this. You don't have to do this. And he went off on her. Like, yo, he went off on her. I'm just like, ew, Neil, ew.
I'm not the one with the problem here, Neil. You are.
That was the push she needed to be like, I'm not living this life anymore. F this. I'm not living this. I am not doing this. So she did the one thing, the one hardest thing that she ever had to do, and she sold all of her dad's guitars. She put them all up for auction to get herself a cute little apartment. And y'all, it was the most rundown tiny apartment. I love her friend Huey, because when she was gonna move out in Huey's place, Huey's like, you don't have to go. You could stay here. We have so much fun together. And I love that because you never really see guy and girlfriends where there's no sexual attraction. They're really, truly just friends. Like, he truly loves her being there. They're truly besties. And he wants her to party with him. But when she says no, she got to do it on her own, he understood. He didn't make her feel bad for wanting a different life. And that's how they like remain friends. And he was the first one to see her apartment. He was so happy for her, even though it was literally a hole in the wall. She just wanted to stand on her own. And funny enough, when she decides to finally stand on her own, Neil freaking wears the jacket that she made for him, that he chewed her out for, by the way, and then tries to win her back.
It's my muse.
Yep, getting in your way again.
And she's like, ew. I gotta stop cursing because I don't want this video to be flagged. But she basically said, get out of my face. Get out of my face with all that. After you did all that to me, after I found you in my boss's mom's house, after you tried to attack me, we don't want you back. No, sir.
Get somebody else to do it.
I feel like this moment was pivotal for her because she could finally address her behaviors, address what was around her, and really see what was working and what isn't. And I feel like that's growing up. Like, yes, she did get her life together. She did get her own apartment. Yes. But all of that can be for nothing if you don't do the inner work. And I know this firsthand because I did the same thing and I still didn't do the inner work, and I was running back into the same old problems. She really sat there and figured out, I'm fed up, I deserve better, and I'm gonna go after better. I'm gonna get it. I'm not gonna let my stereotype of me being like a spoiled rich kid who's living off of her dad's money which wasn't even true for her anymore because she didn't have that money, stopped me from getting what I want to get. There was a pivotal point in this movie when Ray lost her father, and at that point, she ran away, and her mom, of course, didn't know where she was because she knows nothing about Ray, never invested anything about Ray. So she didn't know where she was. Molly knew that Ray was at Coney Island on the teacups, and it's one of the best cinematic shots to me, and it's so symbolic. And they literally rode until they threw up. And when they got off the teacups, Ray just needed Molly to be there for her. That's all she needed, was someone to be there for her. Early in the movie, Molly promised Ray that her dad wouldn't die, and he did. So she was definitely mad at her, but also she was kind of happy that someone was there for her, that someone truly listened to her, then someone just let her express her feelings and be. But at the same time, Molly set boundaries. She was not gonna let Ray continue to treat her any type of way just because she grew up this way, just because she's dealing with trauma. And I think that was important. I think one of the best things you can do on your healing journey is to set boundaries. And it can also sometimes be one of the hardest things to do, especially with people you love. When people come into your life and are basically like a mirror or a karmic relationship, you either grow together or you grow apart. There's like no in between. There's either one or the other. And after the whole situation, after their fight and Molly being there for Ray, Ray asked Molly to be her nanny again. And Molly did the best thing that she could have ever done. She set a boundary while still being a supportive person for Ray. She was like, I don't want to be your nanny. She did not take the job back. I want to be your friend. And Ray was a little scared because she felt like if Molly's not working for her, she'll leave because everybody in her life leaves. And Molly promised, I will never leave you. She will never leave her. In the beginning, I said Ray needed stability, and Molly gave Ray the stability that she craved as a child. I feel like Molly has always known her calling, and it's funny how these things happen where if you truly just shut up for a second and listen and look at your life, you can see what your true calling has always been. And for Molly, it's always been fashion. From the moment you saw her make a flower that she put in her head from Home Depot, when you saw her take Neil's jacket and make it look even more amazing. So she applied to fashion school, and the interviewer was like, honestly, I'm shocked you're even doing this. With your reputation, with her being a well-known person, she could just start a fashion house without having any backing, any education, and just do it. With her references, she can skip school altogether. But I feel like she knew this was her path to take. Sometimes things can seem on the surface like an easier path, but it's not the path that you're supposed to take because you wouldn't feel called to it. You know what I mean? And she looked at her and told her, fundamentals are the building blocks of fun.
Fundamentals are the building blocks of fun.
All right.
The same thing that Ray told her. It was so cute in the end because Molly went to her recital, which I'm pretty sure she sold all the costumes for. And all the girls came out and they were playing the guitars that her dad has. It was like the cutest reveal. And of course, Neil was there. Of course, Neil was there. But it was the cutest reveal. I loved it. And if you're wondering about the guitars she sold, Ray bought them. And Molly made Ray's mom promise to be more involved, especially if she was gonna not be her nanny anymore. Like, she had to be more involved because at the end of the day, Ray needs a parent. She needs stability. I truly believe that this movie is just Molly facing her inner child. And I think healing is just facing your inner child. For some reason, we feel like the needs when we're a child are just a phase that we grow out of. And honestly, the phase is just showing us something that we need in order to nurture us. It's showing us what we need to help us grow and feel protected. That can be a stable home, being able to express yourself however you want to express yourself, being wild, being free, feeling young, not letting growing old stop you from living your life the way you want to live your life. This was the best representation of healing from a trauma bond because honestly, Molly and Ray did trauma bond with each other. And she did, after her friendship break, get both of her friends back. So that was great. So have you guys seen this movie? What do you guys think about this movie? I honestly love it so much. And I love that Molly has a pig because it makes me want to have a pig. Like, have you guys seen those videos on TikTok of piglets laughing? They laugh just like children. And if that isn't a metaphor for inner child, I don't know what is. Like, I was literally bawling my eyes out scrolling through videos of pigs laughing because it was the cutest thing. I hope you guys love this movie series because I love doing them. And you guys watch the other videos. Also, while I have you, if you know what I should call this movie series, let me know, because I've just been calling them movie analysis. Like, I want a cool name for them. Put those down in the comments. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.